Which one am I looking at? Okay. This one. Hello Nigerians, it's another beautiful day here in the city of Abuja, 18th day of the month of April. And what better to do than to be here at this table to discuss all news making headlines across all our national newspapers in Nigeria. My name is Adewale Olashopan. This is Headline Reviews. I am joined today on this program by my colleagues, Godwin Sunday and Chinatu. Oji, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I like the emphasis you placed on Godwin's name. I mean, you had to go into character.
Exactly. I had to go into character with his pronunciation.
I don't want to God forgive you.
You should do that to me too. Why? I'm the only female here. What the
and Chinatu Oji. Perhaps you would have and Chinatu Oji.
You are Chinatu Oji or she is Chinatu Oji?
No, I'm in a character right now.
Oh, sorry.
Pronounce her name.
Okay, sorry.
I am Godwin.
Well, really, let's start the conversation this morning looking at the issue of Bobrisky versus Obi Kubana, how a lot of Nigerians have a lot of things to say about it, how perhaps they were treated differently. But the crux of the conversation is that we had two different individuals pleaded differently to the courts. Bobrisky pleaded guilty to the offenses as charged, while Obi Kubana pleaded not guilty. But a lot of people are saying as well, if Obi Kubana pleaded guilty, why was he pleaded not guilty? Why was it prior to this time it wasn't taken into custody, just like Bobrisky was taken into custody? Why was there no mugshot of him with perhaps the allegation that he was being meted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission? But what would you have to say with that? Because Obi Kubana has been granted bail, 10 million naira with 2 shorties with the same amount, and is home with his family.
Well,
while Bobrisky is in jail.
I think the matter is a matter of technicalities in law. That's why somebody said that the law is an ass. So whether you like it or not, there are technicalities you have to put to these things to make it more technical. In the case of Bobrisky, like you rightly said, he pleaded guilty. Hey, you did this. Yes, I did it. I'm sorry. This one is saying, I didn't do it. But based on the Nigerian Evidence Act and also the Nigerian Constitution, the grand norms of Nigerian give room for some technicalities in law. The onus to prove and prove beyond reasonable doubt and not beyond all shadows of doubt rests with the Economic and Financial Crime Commission. So if we're saying, you said you allege, the word is either alleges, must prove beyond reasonable doubt. So the EFCC have alleged that Obi Kubana sprayed Nigerian legal tender. So the onus to prove that what they saw was Nigerian legal tender rests on them. So they have to prove first the money that was sprayed, the numbers on the money, it must carry Nigeria. The money they saw on the cam must show, and they must bring evidence to support. Witnesses must be brought to court to support and further accentuate their allegations on this person. So if you don't have sufficient evidence to prove or disprove your case in a competent court of law, what happens is that the EFCC have brought in a void ab initio case before the court of law. It is more what we call, there's a legal term we use to do, it's coming to test the patient of the court. So I think at this point, Obi Kubana can even, to be Obi Kubana's shoe, I'll wait for the EFCC to finish do this. Kubana chief priest, if I've been in his shoe at this point, I will wait for the EFCC to finish this whole process. I will now sue the EFCC.
Exactly. But Chinatu, I'm sure you have your opinion to give to it before we go into the conversation this morning.
Yes, of course I do. I mean, it's very interesting that we've already had this kind of cases before, and you'd want to say, is it the first time this kind of thing is happening? We've seen politicians play around with the legal tender in Nigeria. And so it would be better if we saw these people held. But I mean, we are seeing the everyday Nigerian now held. I mean, Kubana and Bobrisky for me, I'd like every other Nigerian, because I look at the politicians like role models, people we need to look up to. But we've not even seen those ones being held. We don't want to start saying names here, but we've seen videos online. We've seen people who are supposed to uphold the law do go against the law by spraying the legal tender, inappropriately. But then, to the matter on ground, Bob Risky, I don't want to say shot himself on the leg or herself on the leg, by pleading guilty. And that is at odds with the the legality in Nigeria now. The moment you admit that you're guilty of a crime, it means you've asked them to do whatever it is.
Exactly, you're at the mercy of the court.
You're at the mercy of the court. But Cubana Chief Priest, on the other hand, pleaded not guilty, meaning he has given room for more witnesses to come or more allegations or, you know, proofs to happen in the course of the case. But then, this is Nigeria.
Exactly. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Godwin, then have to prove, just like you said, beyond reasonable doubt, that what they've seen, there is actually the legal tender for Nigeria, the Nigerian legal tender being sprayed while Cubana was
But then again, I think the reason why this case is carrying much clout is that this will serve as a deterrent for Nigerian youth. Imagine the kind of followers a person like Bobrisky commands, you understand? So he has follow about 5 million, if not more than 5 million followers, 5 million plus followers. Obi Kubanas have almost, Obi Kubana Chief Priest have also a similar number.
Yeah,
so if you can use these persons to say, hey, if you spray the naira, you'll be arrested. I think this would serve as a deterrent.
It would serve as a deterrent, but just like a lot of Nigerians are saying, and Chinatu has reiterated, do we hold just ordinary people, ordinary citizens account? How about we go for the heavy-handed people, the politicians, the people in the power? Let's speak truth to power. But we cannot continue to speculate on that. We have to move to the conversation this morning. Chinatu, I believe, we're starting off with.
All right, so we're starting off with the Tribune, where the federal government has inaugurated a 17-man interministerial committee for the 2024 Democracy Day celebration. The committee, headed by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, was charged with the responsibility of organizing a memorable and befitting Democracy Day celebration. Members of the committee are Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, Minister of Interior, Dr. Olubumi Tunji-Ojo, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale June, Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Bagudu, Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga, Honorable Minister of FCT, Nyesom Wike. This was contained in a statement on Wednesday by the Director of Information, Shegun Imohioson. Wow. Democracy is drawing near. Another democracy is drawing near. And we've seen now that the presidency has ensured that we now have a 17-man committee to steer the celebration. And what does this mean? It means that we would see a fruitful or a more robust celebration. I know when we talk about democracy, we talk about remembering the efforts of our heroes past. We talk about the labor, we talk about the efforts of every other person who has worked in Nigeria to ensure that we uphold the democracy. And it reminds us of what happened in 1993, talking about the MKO Abiola's election that was, annulled due to allegations of corruption or irregularity, that it wasn't free and fair. That was during the Babangida regime. And now we are seeing that we are now going to be celebrating democracy in 2024 on 12th of June. It was moved during Buhari's tenure to 12th of June. We used to celebrate in May. But now we are seeing this, and for me, this is just a call to remind us of the labor of our heroes past, to also remind us, where are we as a country since democracy, since 1999, 25 years after, where are we? What are we doing differently? Now, whether we like it or not, I like to state that we've moved. People may not see it. A lot of Nigerians may argue, with the current realities we have on ground. But you will agree that we've moved in our economy, we've moved in infrastructure, we've moved in even our technology. Look at telecommunications now. See how robust it is. See how far internet and users of internet have been since the democracy. So whether we like it or not, there's still gain. We still see the merit of all of this happening. And trust me, I don't think this would have happened if people did not have a government for the people, by the people.
Exactly. Well, can I start the conversation by talking about how graceful Nigeria is, that we've had an uninterrupted democratic dispensation right up from 1999 to 2024 that we are now. And I think the celebration, of course, it's a time of reflection for us as a country, looking at what we've achieved so far, what we still want to do, and looking at how we are strengthening our democracy. Because no matter how we want to slice and dice it, Nigeria continue to remain a very strong nation in Africa, and whatever happens in Nigeria also influences things in other African nations. So, for instance, Nigeria's democracy, look at what happened in 2015 when Goodluck Jonathan, the incumbent president at that time, conceded defeat to an opposition party. A lot of Nigerians were not were skeptical about what was going to happen at that time, but we had democracy take its course. Fast ahead to 2023 general elections as well, where we had, of course, the incumbent was leaving the power, a new government was supposed to come in place, and a lot of Nigerians had different political parties that they supported. But despite that, they still allowed democracy to take its course. They took the case to the court. Everybody had their grievances listened to by the court. But at the end of the day, everybody had to accept that we need to allow a government continue to support them and appreciate the essence of democracy. But now also looking at another context for the issue of a democratic system that we're practicing in Nigeria, a lot of people can say that perhaps this is not a true federal system government that we want to practice because of the power centralized at the federal level. Or for instance, some people might even argue that democracy is not the best option for Nigeria, for a complex and multi-diverse ethnic group in our nation. Can we actually consider ourselves as a nation of one tribe? But I think still in our diversity, we've been able to say that a lot of things can be achieved when we have a democratic process where the government is of the people, by the people, and for the people, where there's accountability and when there is opportunity for checks and balances. So then I think we can continue to pursue this democracy, because we're the largest democracy in Africa, whether or not we want to take that, and that itself puts us in a specific role as a role model to other African nations, wherever it is in the world. I remember during the apartheid regime in South Africa, Nigeria was one of the countries that supported South Africa. Mandela, there was a time Mandela was in Nigeria just to save himself from persecution in his country. And in the different countries that we've had peacekeeping forces and all of that, just to restore democracy. If you look at what's happening in Niger, Benin, and some other countries where we've had the military usurp the government and take power, we've seen that no matter how you want to say it, Nigeria's had its own fair share of military dictatorship. And we understand that no matter how good we've seen things come out of it, it is not. It can never be compared. I think there's an adage or a wise saying that the worst the worst thing you can get in democracy. I'm trying to reiterate, put it slightly because I can't remember exactly how it is said. But the worst form of democracy is the best of.
The worst form of military government is the best form of democracy.
Yeah. So the worst that you can get in democracy is the best that you can get in the military government. So the best that the military government can give to you is the worst that the democratic government can give to you. So I think now is to appreciate where we've come and to see where we are going.
But Wale, while I quite agree with your submissions, I still think that there are places there are gray areas in this committee that we've not looked at. And the first gray area on this committee is the area of 17-man panel, 17-man committee to celebrate Democracy Day that we've been celebrating since 1999. And we're putting this, I'm asking salient questions first. How much is the budget for this 17-man panel or committee that has been set up? What is the breakdown for democracy celebration? Can we, in the face of dwindling economic challenge, can we cut down this number of persons that have been appointed for celebration of democracy celebration and bring the number down to a please reduced figure? What 17 men can do, I can assure you, approximately 10 men can do, Wale. Why don't we cut this number? Because these are, again, why are we bringing serving ministers or also that have governmental portfolios to do all of this planning and execution? One would expect that the Ministry of Interior and also with few other ministries will be able to do this. Now we've taken that, then again, we're bringing in Nyesom Wike to the list. Now we're asking a salient question, which is, Nyesom Wike is a minister of the FCT. Is he speaking on behalf of the governors? Is he speaking on behalf of the senators? Is he speaking on behalf of co-ministers? So we need to know the rules and the roles of this person so that we can be able to align our thoughts. So for me, as a person, I should think that we should face the realities of our economic challenge and cut down on this number. That's for me, Wale.
Exactly, and I think this is very important because we've talked about the cost of governance itself. But I think this the reason the government have made sure that this is an interministerial committee is to ensure that things are done adequately, because the events has been lined up. If you look at them, the celebration, the Christian, the Muslim, the symposium, was it?
It is a repetition of what we do every year, Wale.
Yeah, so I think when we
year.
have all this put together, and also most of the activities are going to be taking place in FCT, so Wike has to be involved in that as well. But moving on to our next story coming on from the Nation's newspaper. Oyo State demolishes Yoruba Nation agitators building. Oyo State government has pulled down the building where the Yoruba Nation agitators under the leadership of Modukbe Onitiri Abiola are operating from in Ibadan, the state capital of Oyo State. The building on Toye Oyusola Street in Ibadan Southwest local government area was demolished on Wednesday evening. We can see that this uproar that we saw happened recently in Oyo State, where we had Yoruba Nation agitators invade the secretariat of the government and also the government house and the State House of Assembly to install a government of their own called the Yoruba Nation. I think if you dial back a little, let's look at what happened during 2021, shortly after during the COVID, post-COVID time, where we had a lot of riots in the country. And in the person of Sunday Igboho, a very prominent Yoruba person, he started the agitation for the Yoruba Nation. He held a lot of protests in different places, and his call at that time was to fish out all these Fulani headsmen that are infiltrating forested areas in Yoruba land and killing people and taking them for ransom. So while Nigeria accepted him for what he was doing, I mean, leading a protest to ensure that we ensure that security of lives and property are protected in the country, where he drew the line, where Nigeria would draw the line for you is to come and say you want to secede from the country,
it's
agitating.
It's treason.
That's a treasonable offense. It's a treasonable offense, wanting to create a country out of another country. It's something that is unacceptable. You're threatening the sovereignty and territorial integrity of our country as a nation. So that he was dealt with at that time, and his home in Oyo State was invaded. He traveled outside to Benin Republic, and Nigeria had, through diplomatic channels with the Benin Republic, he was held. There he served his prison sentence. He was later released, but he's still there in Benin Republic and can always come to Nigeria at will. But now we are seeing other people sprung up, and they are also having agitation for a Yoruba nation. And mind you, during the Sunday Igboho era, this was not violent. It was just a what's it called? Protests that we are seeing at that time. But these people took it a step further, invading the state secretariat and the state house, because state house residents of the governor wanting to take control of the power of the state. That is a flagrant violation of our sovereignty, of territorial integrity of our government. Went with a flag and went with rifles, with arms, to cause mayhem in the state secretariat. So, of course, the security operatives sprung into action and were able to apprehend all of them. They're still being investigated, being questioned, being interrogated, and of course, we now know that there is a sponsor for them, and some of them said they don't even know. They said one of the what I call people that was apprehended said there was somebody from the United Nations that has granted them an opportunity to have their own state. That is now going to happen. They were having meetings online, and I'm thinking how easy it is to fool people and to take them exactly to encourage them to take up arms and to fight to usurp the government's power. But I think the government would never allow such to happen. That is why we are seeing that their hideouts of their building is being demolished. Whatever the government has to do, the government has to retain power as the leadership of the state.
Wale, what am I to add to this? You said it all.
Well, I think I want to come in here to say that while the agitators are wrong, we must understand that there are fundamental things that lead to this. we look at the issues of marginalization. Any sector in the country that feels marginalized, trust me, they'll always try to fight back. But the truth is, if you don't solve this problem, another group would spring up.
Exactly.
Start agitating too. I mean, we've seen other tribes also agitate. When does it stop? It won't stop until we look at the fundamental problem. And how do we do that? We come in by ensuring that every quarter is properly represented. So we are making laws for everybody. Everybody's culture is properly, captured. Everybody's heritage is properly respected. Because if you say, okay, today you're for this person, tomorrow you're for this, and you are standing at the helm of affairs, what do you expect people to do? They'll always fight back. If you push people to the wall, they'll always fight back. So we don't want to see a country where people are marginalized, because as long as I'm concerned, people who feel sidelined when it comes to laws, when it comes to representation, will always fight back.
We always fight back, Chinatu. but then let's move on so that we won't have to dwell, because Wale has gone about this Yoruba. He went from history, he now brought us to present. And if you leave Wale, it will take us to the future. All right, so let's go straight to the Punch newspaper, where this one is trended right now, where the EFCC, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, obtained an arrest warrant for Yahaya Bello. Well, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on Wednesday was granted a warrant by Federal High Court in Abuja to apprehend Yahaya Bello, the former Kogi State Governor. The warrant was issued following an ex parte motion filed by the Economic and Financial Crime Commission. In his ruling on the motion, Justice Emeka Nwete also directed the former governor be produced before him on Thursday, being today, April 18th, for arraignment. And Wale, this is a very interesting conversation.
It is.
Yesterday, the FCT was a very interesting place to be, because we saw the men of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Should we use the word invade the residence of the former governor of Kogi State? And I think they wanted to whisk him away, but the present governor of Kogi State had to intervene. That's Ododo, had to come, intervene with security personnel. They were able to take the government away, the former governor away, that's Yahaya Bello. But then, what we're looking at right now, we've seen the court in Kogi State on February 9th have given an injunction, restraining order to the EFCC to restrain from arrest of Yahaya Bello. And Yahaya Bello is supposed to be arraigned, or supposed to appear in court today in Kogi State. And now we are seeing that's I think in Justice Jumai court also. Now we're seeing Yahaya Bello also, the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, knowing fully well that there is a restraining order from the Lokoja court. They are now coming to Abuja, getting another order from a court, a warrant from a court to go and arrest. So we now ask at this point, where are we going to with our legal system in general? If one court is saying, I'm restraining you from arresting, you're going to another court, it's like passing through the back of a compound to go and arrest somebody. When there's a court order on ground, and the EFCC chairman happens to be a lawyer. So this really calls for concern on what we call our legal system in general. Because if we don't address this issue critically, it will throw us into a state where we won't want to go, because we want to have a country where we don't have respect for the rule of law. And EFCC is a body that is enacted by law. So I want to believe that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission should go back and order to ensure that court rulings, court verdicts are respected and followed and adhered to, without any form of even trying to beautify it. If the court have said, allow Yahaya Bello to, don't arrest Yahaya Bello, I think it should stay. If you have any other thing to do to throw at Yahaya Bello, once the court at Lokoja has finished what it wants to do, you can pick Yahaya Bello from there and press charges. That's what I think. So Egypt should go back and put their house in order.
Exactly, but can I perhaps let's put it into context so that people completely understand what we're dealing with here. This is a former governor of a state, Kogi State, one of the most important states that we have in Nigeria. And Yahaya Bello was a governor for 8 years. And during his tenure, a lot of allegations of corruption, of diversion of funds, of alleged against him, his person and his office. But he had an autonomy and, what's it called? sovereignty as the governor. He had that, and so he wasn't able to. It was very hard for people to apprehend him or for the security agency to take him into custody because he's a governor. He has the right to continue to govern for the rest of his tenure as head of his state. But looking at how we've reached here, now he's no longer a governor, and you cannot continue to hold that immunity. That's the word I was trying to remember. You cannot continue to enjoy that immunity forever. You enjoy it while you are in office. Now he's no longer in office and his immunity has elapsed. It's not longer there. So the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission invaded his house to arrest him in Abuja. Some people might even ask, why is he staying in Abuja? What happened to Kogi State? But that's by the side. But having them invade his house, perhaps he could have been called for questioning. Perhaps he could have been invited to submit his own statements at the Office of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. So I think that's on one side. But looking at the issue of the state court giving an injunction that he should restrain in the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, not arresting him. And then we have another one from EFCC went ahead to the Federal High Court, or another court, to get another order for him to be arrested. So I think there's something called jurisdiction. I think this falls under the jurisdiction of the federal government. So whatever it is...
These are court of equal jurisdiction, Section 45 of the Nigerian Constitution.
Whatever it is that... even the conversation of state policing in Nigeria, these are kind of issues that people are bringing up. State governors or state people might want to have things to do on their own, and while the federal has to have its own course. So whatever we want to do, perhaps this is not in the jurisdiction of the federal of the state government, and this is a case leveled against them by the federal government, by the agency of the federal government, not an agency of the state government. So the state government cannot impede or restrict the actions of agencies of the federal government from carrying out their own duties to make sure that he is arraigned and brought before the justice, the judge at the court. So I think the agency will still do their responsibility, and the ruling has to take its course.
Exactly, because
go ahead.
I do not understand